Alrighty, I am back. Where have I gone? Where have I been? Where'd you come from, Cotton Eye Joe? That's none of your business. No, I've just been a bit busy with other things, but I left off with the web remote control tutorial and said there were a second version was right around the corner. Also right around the corner was this in-camera VFX example Unreal had made, which includes their version of the web remote control like as an already made app, and then also Unreal 4.26, if I can find it. Can I not install it? Okay. Yeah, believe me, 4.26 is a thing, which, if you remember from my intro for that tutorial, I mentioned how that Unreal doesn't actually use the correct REST API because it doesn't use put, or sorry, it only uses put. It doesn't use like push and get and delete and all those other commands. Well, they changed it in 4.26, so now it uses all those commands. So what we're going to do in this video is I'm just going to show you how to get up and running with the Unreal's own example, and then we're going to when it's not 3 AM, we're going to look at how to edit that to be into your own scene, and we're going to change a few things in that, which I will be doing, I promise, after I get some sleep. So, pinky promise, you can hold me to it. Yeah, so, but if you are curious how, because I had mentioned that I was planning on doing it inside Unreal without having to go into like an external program and develop a web app. If you're wondering how I was going to do that, there is a REST API plugin for free on the marketplace, which lets you, through blueprints, send those commands with Unreal. If I type REST API, VA REST, it's this one. So if you want to give that a crack, I will put up a screenshot of what changing the light source in the blueprint now. That's how I was doing it, and that's what that tutorial was going to be about, but we're not doing that anymore. So let's get started now that that is out of the way. So you're going to want the camera VFX example, so that's in the Learn tab, and it's just here. In camera VFX example, create a new project, uses 4.25, but because of the virtual production advancements they've made in 4.26, I think that will be updated shortly to 4.26 when 4.26 gets released. So what we're going to do first is not open it. So take a note of the path you see there, and go to it, which will be, I think it was Documents, Unreal Projects, in-camera VFX. We want this web control folder, so that won't actually show up in the content browser or anything of Unreal because it's outside the content browser. We're just going to move it. I'm going to put it on my desktop. I'll trust you put it somewhere more responsible than just on your desktop, because it's bad habit to get into. So now that we've moved that, we can open up the in-camera VFX and have a quick look at it. Alrighty, so that's going to open a lot of stuff. But essentially, the one we want over here is the web controller. So there's some blueprints here, and I'm going to show you again in a few hours after I've had some sleep, how to edit these to be your own, and we're going to change a few things, but at the moment we're just going to let it work inside this. So off the bat, it's designed to work very well with end display, and I have a sneaking suspicion that's what a lot of you watching these are using it for as well, so it should be nice out of the box. So we are going to minimize that because we don't actually need the editor for a lot of this. You're going to need to download two things. Number one is Notepad++. That is available at notepad-plus-plus.org/downloads. Notepad, so a lot of you have just used regular Notepad before. Notepad++ is that on steroids. Is really nice for editing config files and stuff like that. So I see a lot of people like, it allows you to collapse sections, and it automatically reads the different types of, if it's a JSON, it'll format it correctly, or a HTML or a CSS. It's so much nicer to do things like that, and I have no idea why no one is using it to edit the end display config files, because it makes it so much easier to navigate through the config files. So we're going to get just the latest regular release and download it. And while that is downloading, we will also need NPM. I don't know what it stands for. It is a type of web server. It gets packaged with Node.js, just to do with Java. This is how Unreal's example runs. It runs on this web server, so go ahead and get that as well, because you'll need it to run it. So it's npmjs.com/getnpm. So we're going to download it, and we'll just get LTS, the long-term service build of it, because that's going to be the one with the least amount of bugs. Tell UAC that you do want to install it. Agree, next. Make sure you read it all, I'm sure. Alrighty, I'm not going to run it, I'm just going to have it installed, and then node v whatever, yes, next. Neither of these install bloatware, unless you tick this, but I don't think that's actually bloatware, so you don't have to worry about that. When this screen goes black, that's Windows UAC asking me to enter my password, so don't be alarmed. Finish. Alrighty. So we are going to have a sneaky peek in the web control folder. So this looks a bit confusing. It looks nothing like what you've ever seen before. There is a README file in here. It's saved as an MD file. I can't remember the difference between that and .text is. Someone's going to point it out to me, I'm sure. So if we just right click it, we can click edit with Notepad++ now, and so this is Notepad++. Looks a bit more, oh, there's already an update for Notepad++. Okay, that's fun. So if we go through and read it, you'll actually see it talks about, like down here, it's like npm install, npm run serve. Does not really good luck trying to figure out what that actually is telling you to do, as I think it's a bit non-specific. Also in here is the userconfig.json. So if we open that up with Notepad++, this just has our paths to all the blueprint controllers for the web server, which we'll have a look at more next time. Package has a few other things, and default has the default values for certain things, if you want to change that. Alrighty, so Node.js is installed. Now you can click on it, but don't use this. Just use Windows command prompt, or use PowerShell, depending on what you like more. Run as administrator as well, like so, and so we get here. So the first thing we need to do, so if I open Notepad++ and we go to, oh, I closed it by accident. So if we go to our README, we just have a look what it says. So we need to make sure the server is running in Unreal. So that is the console command webcontrol.start server. So in Unreal, in the output log, we can type that webcontrol.start server. That was not typing into the. So you may remember that from last tutorial. You can also obviously have it start on startup, which is probably the handiest. I think it was already running because it didn't give me a response. Next it says npm install. What does that mean? So we have command prompt. If I type npm-v, it's going to tell us what version of npm is installed, so we know that command prompt is talking with npm when we want it to. So next what we need to do is we need to change the directory of command prompt to this folder here. So start by going cd. Yeah, this is the C drive. So if it's on a different drive, then to change the drive, you just type the drive letter plus the colon key. But we want that. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to do CD, which stands for change directory, at space, and then our new directory, and hit enter. And so long as if Windows says you're on the D drive and you type a C drive directory, if command prompt says you're on the D drive and you type a C drive directory, it's not going to work. So make sure you change to the right drive first. So now that command prompt is inside this folder, what we can do is run these commands that it mentions. So the first one is npm install. So there's a space in there, and hit enter. And you'll see now it's going to install this web control package. So you're going to have to create a new one because of the user config here. I believe that is built when we do this install. So you are going to want to sort of make a new web control for each project, I believe. I could be wrong. I haven't tested this exactly with well, I haven't tested this thoroughly yet. Now it says we've found some vulnerabilities in the program. That is okay because this is not going to be open to the open web, and I would recommend against opening it to the open web because there are some vulnerabilities, and just the fact that they could straight up control Unreal. Okay, so the next one we run is npm. I forgot. Let's have a look. README. So run serve. npm run serve. So this is then going to run the server. So as you can see, starting development, building. Ta-da! So as you can see, it's now running. We can access this outside of the network, or we can access this locally. So you do not need to change. So run this npm on the same computer running your build. So I guess the I haven't tested this with NDisplay, but run it on the computer that has the NDisplay controller, I guess. You know, because, and we don't have to open Unreal. If you remember, we changed how it opens, so we can send commands from outside the local computer. You don't need to do that with this one because it's like we're forwarding a request to the web server, and then the web server is forwarding it to Unreal. So we're not going directly to Unreal. So, but we can open up this. So it's localhost, and the port is 5000. And just like that, ta-da! You can see we've now got exactly like they had on the iPad in like the original virtual production stuff. This is the same one that we're using. So as you can see, make sure your editor is in real-time mode and the use less CPU when in background is disabled. So when that is enabled, which it usually is by default, so you're going to start, that's how you know it's running, is it's going to start filling up with errors for some reason. I'm still not exactly sure what it is. But here we go. So what you're going to want to do, that's under the, I think it's under play and then advanced settings. Somewhere in here is use less CPU when in background. Use less. So, oh, okay, most projects have it enabled by default. This one happens to have it disabled. That'll just sort of make updating a lot easier and quicker, especially if you have it minimized. I'm going to split the window like that. So, well, I should probably go through this first. So first of all, we have the stage manipulation. This represents like the offset to the camera. So they're sort of moving the entire world almost around. So that if I, whoops. What is it doing? Where did it go? Oh, it went on the other monitor. There we go. So if I were to demonstrate that, at the moment it's hooked up to this web control thing. So if I move the X, as you can see, I can move it. It's a bit weird, a feeling doing it. And then I can move the height. I'm going to change this to let's put that back. I'm going to change this to moving the camera. So we obviously did a bunch of stuff about using an Xbox controller and stuff like that to move a cinema camera around and offset it. So that's what I'm going to change this to manipulate that. And then we can rotate it. Alrighty, so next we also have these targets. So this is currently just hooked up to mannequin asset, but we can hook it up to a couple of different assets. So if you have a hero asset in your scene or something, we can start to move it around the scene like so, which is quite funky. And then we can directly type in some values. And you can go ahead and I believe do this for as many as you would like. Now under lighting, it uses these light cards, which I don't understand. There's like a spotlight here which has a blueprint which looks like it's set up to use this, but it doesn't. So I found that a little strange, but these light cards will work. Again, this is something exactly for end display, because although it doesn't light the Unreal display, the Unreal scene, a giant white thing on an LED display is going to be very bright. But we have some settings for how far away it is from the scene. We can move it around, and so it's going to rotate around the light card manager here. So stick it like in the middle of your scene where the end display would be, and that way it's rotating around your volume. Then we can change the shape and we can change the color. But obviously, because it doesn't actually light the Unreal scene, so there's no value for like brightness. The next is the screen. This is just again for end display, so not exactly sure what you could use it for. I have very limited use with end display, so that's nice. Another one which I find really cool is the you can play level sequences. So, it's just his phone falling off. So we can, and then it'll automatically add, as you add more sequences, it's automatically going to, it's automatically going to populate, so you can just play through sequences, which is cool. Now there is a sub-tab to this here, which is events. So you can set up custom events to trigger, so I could just trigger an event to happen. At the moment it's got focus selected actor in here, so if I select on an actor, select an actor and hit focus, it's gonna just essentially like double clicking on it in the outliner here. That's what that's doing. Next is color correction. This directly affects the color correction volume or the post-processing volume in the scene. So really handy just across the board. Not all the settings are in here, but probably all the ones you'd care about. So we've got exposure, so I can up and down the exposure, and our white balance, overall scene white balance, and then just some basic, gamma gain offset, not the other one, which is gamma gain lift, I think. I cannot remember either. So we've got some basic color correction tools, not quite as in-depth as what is actually in the sequence, in the post-processing volume, but yeah, there you go. The last thing we have is the utilities, which just allows you, so if this server, web server, the NPM one, is running on a computer that isn't running the version of Unreal or whatever that you want to use, this is where you specify where it is running. But yeah, other than that, that is how you use all this. So again, that's what I'm working on at a more reasonable time, is how to drop this into your own scene, and then working on changing a few things. So like I'm going to change the light card manager so it spawns lights rather than cards, which will be handier for green screen stuff and some other stuff. And then event manager, we can look at. You can have a look at the blueprints. They're not all straightforward, but we can have a look at that, get them to do things. It's like 50-50. Some of this stuff happens in the blueprints, and then other stuff happens just in the web server control in here. And so it's like gonna have to find. I'm gonna have to go through and double check what is happening where, and I'm going to make my best attempt to make sure everything's happening on the Unreal Blueprint side and not the web server side, which I think it does already. Most of it. I think it's these events, because I think it just passes a console command straight to Unreal. I'll have to double check. Yeah, so and then I'm going to change the stage to, instead of spin around the stage, it's going to geez, that's a lot for, I didn't think it was having all of that in there. Can you do other things? No, you can't do other things to the stage. Okay. That maybe use something else on there as well. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and edit a few things, show you guys how to dump this into your own project and change a few things as well. But hopefully this is a good look at already how all this works, and yeah, cool.